Thank you, Siddharth. I wish I had the baritone that Siddharth has. I know we are running, way behind schedule, and we'll try to keep it as fiery as possible. I know Rajiv also has a hard stop. So, as the subject of the discussion goes, the blurring lines between sales and marketing. So let's start with I'd like to come to my audience here and test the audience's interest about this session and this subject. So how many of you, and you can do a show of hands, how many of you do really think that in organizations we have really seen a blurring of lines between sales and marketing? Would really appreciate a show of hands. All right. That's close to 30% of the audience. All right, so we are definitely on the right track of having this conversation. Just to set a context about the topic. So across most of the 20th century, many of us have seen that sales and marketing functions have operated in silos. But as they say, as the digital behemoth came into force, and as players like Amazon took the consumer mindset, there was a change in the consumer behavior, and probably that is one thing that has led organizations and brands to rethink their strategy and to really blur the lines that are there between sales and marketing. It's the rise of digitization, and this phenomenon has really, we think, has been responsible for what we call the blurring lines today. We have this esteemed panel, and we would want to come to my panelists here and understand better what led to this change. So I would come to Professor first. So Professor, we have been talking about this blurring line, and I remember reading somewhere that Harvard mentioned that about how in the initial 20th century, most of the organizations they were operating in silos. But now it's changing. So what, according to you, has really led to the change?
Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much. Thank you to ET for inviting me to this panel discussion. Quickly coming to the point, where is the pressure coming from? So the pressure is coming directly from the consumer, because consumer is being bombarded with the information overload, and consumer is unable to make the right choices. So somewhere down the line, this is our moral responsibility, that how we can help the consumer. And the idea of marketing and sales may be relevant to the business owners or those who are running the business, but consumer is least bothered whether you come from marketing or sales. I'm interested in buying the right product at the right price. When we come on, talking about blurring, so blurring is not something a very new idea. It is always there since ancient time, not only in organizational context, but in general in life also. When we say, let's say, what is the basic definition of an organization? Long back in 1967, Katz and Kahan, they defined organization as a system of coordinated efforts. Very beautiful definition. A system of coordinated efforts. So when you look at, let's say, take some example like family. So in earlier days, women are supposed to do certain activities at home. Man is supposed to do certain other activities. But where is the line now? The line is blurred. Why? Women are more empowered, the environment changed, context has changed, women are participating in the workforce. So there are many reasons. So line is blurred again. Same if you look at different sports. Cricket has relatively thick line, but football has blurred line. Why? If the pressure is on you to face or to bring more coordination, give you quick results, then definitely line is blurred, and then marketing and sales must join hands as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. That's a great line to open the discussion on. I would like to come to Vineet here. Vineet, you are a business owner. You run your own business, and as Professor mentioned, it's important to have integrated marketing and sales teams. Now, we have seen in organizations it's often not the ideal scenario where we have an integrated team, and there is always a difference between the two. So how do you as a business owner, or how do our audiences relate to creating an organization that has integrated functions on these two lines?
Good evening, everyone. So I'll try and speak a bit from my personal experience. So our business has both offline and online. So on the offline side, there still is sort of a clear line between sales and marketing, and because we are a smaller, leaner organization, there is always a sync between the two. Decision making is a bit more centralized, but so that kind of helps. But when it comes down to the online space, and online for us obviously is a hugely growing part of the overall business, there's obviously two parts to it. There's an umbrella marketing team that would drive brand building, driving consumers to digital platforms. But once the consumer is on a specific platform, let's say Amazon, for example, then the metrics of that completely change. And the team that kind of handles client servicing or sales or marketing is all one and the same, because they're completely seamless for us. When you look at an offline business vis-a-vis an online business, some of the major challenges that you face, like shelf space constraints or your ability to showcase your entire selection, the availability of product, all of that actually is not a constraint in an online environment. So therefore, when the team that is looking at driving sales, and sales is obviously a key objective of every organization, is the same one that then figures out how to best use its marketing, and that's what we've been doing. So we have a small lean team, and who's already very good at client servicing and understands the sales side of things, but then also add on this marketing piece, and very quickly have had to learn the various tools available, master them, use them. And so what we have seen is this integration has already happened. It's only getting better and better with every passing day. And I guess being a leaner organization makes it that much easier for it to happen.
Great. Better and better, we can hope that it gets to the best. Rajiv, I would want to come to you here. Being a marketer, right? And it has been often said that marketers lean towards the advertising and branding side more, whereas now sales is more performance driven. What's your take on this? Where does the integration lie?
I will answer the question in a different way. I'll ask this question: what came first? Whether was it sales came first or the marketing came first, right? So if you look at the genesis of any company, I would say the sales came first. First, you sold something, and then you created a brand around it. Then thereafter, you created a marketing department and tried to generate brand equity and tried to start demand generation, so as to say, right? So that's how the process started. So lines have always been blurred. I mean, how it started and what shape it has taken is different. Companies like FMCG companies like Dabur have levers, if you look at any of these companies, have massive marketing department and even bigger sales departments. What has happened over the period is that these two don't talk to each other very often. I think that was the question, and how do these lines get blurred? What companies like ours have done is they try to integrate the two. First, they try to integrate the two. Then secondly, what they did is that, like what we have done is that we have tried to decentralize marketing. So there is a marketing function which reports to the sales function in regional markets. So we've created 5 regions, and all these 5 regions, these marketing people, they have freedom to work along with the sales people and do it. So that's one part of the traditional business, so as to say. As far as e-commerce business is concerned, which is growing very rapidly, and almost 8% of our business comes from e-commerce now, which was just about 1.5% till about 2.5 years back. So that's all performance-driven and sales-driven. So there's no one straight, simple answer for this. One has to look at things in perspective, and and this keeps changing all the time.
Great. It's great that you mentioned about e-commerce, because this leads me to my next question to Kapil here. Kapil, we have obviously we have seen a boom in the e-commerce business, and probably that's why more and more consumers are interacting with the digital platforms, and hence there is a change in the consumer behavior towards a brand. Now Amazon has millions and millions of consumer data on its platform. How do you see, consumers or consumer behavior really driving the change or driving the integration that we're really talking about, the decentralization of power that, or the marketing and, sales roles?
Yeah, thank you very much for asking that question, and good evening, everybody. I think I would like to first start with how the digital transformation has happened in our country. If you look at the digital transformation, in last 1 decade, our number of internet users have grown by 40 times. What does that mean? That means that most of the people are accessing internet through mobile phone because of affordable mobile phones these days. They have cheaper data tariffs because of telecom revolution. So what exactly is happening is most of these consumers who have handsets, they are essentially using those handsets to consume content. They are essentially using these handsets to review, research, and also purchase products. And that's where Amazon is actually at a very critical key role to play over here, wherein Amazon allows customers not only to buy the products, but also allows them to go about researching the products and discovering new brands. And in fact, new variations or new sizes which they would have not been able to discover earlier. Now, what does that mean? This essentially means that Amazon being a platform which to a marketeer provides almost third largest reach, and as well as it provides, let's say, most of the consumers a big, large selection. They essentially what it means is most of the marketeers can use Amazon ads to reach out to to each and every section of the purchasing funnel, and as well as it also enables the salespeople to deploy the ad dollars more efficiently so that they can essentially get the maximum point of sale visibility. So I would say that these are the reasons why essentially the lines are getting blurred, because people are using Amazon advertising to achieve their objectives, and Amazon is at the heart of this.
Great. Rajiv, I would want to come to you. You mentioned about decentralization, right? Is that kind of a decentralization is what we are looking at when, our friend Kapil here says about how, the marketing teams are being empowered with data, which is leading to performance, and vice versa, how the sales teams are empowered with where to spend the ad dollars smartly. So is that's the kind of decentralization? Is that's the kind of integration that one can have in between two teams?
Yeah, apart from what you said, this is more about keeping your ear to the ground. I think decentralization also what it means is that people who are based in their respective geographies, they are more in touch with the reality. They are on the ground, and they get to understand the consumers in a much better way rather than somebody sitting in one central office and trying to control everything in a digital market. And we have seen fantastic results coming out of this. What we have seen is that the regional teams have been, first of all, they understand languages, the local languages very well. Like, for example, we have a team in East, which is headed by a marketing manager. The kind of content he has created for using the local influencers, which a similar Bengali sitting in Delhi has not been able to do, just to put it in a perspective in a different way, right? Somebody, a Bengali sitting in Delhi, it becomes more of a Punjabi Bengali than a Bengali who's sitting in Calcutta is like, more Bengali than, so that's just to answer that question, just to put the ear on the ground and get clearer insights. That's the primary reason. Ultimately, the job is to generate demand and ultimately do a good business, So that's always the bottom line.
Right. Thanks, Rajiv. I think a lot of this, also has to do with the mindset of the business owner. And this brings me to Vineet here. Vineet, as you are building this company of yours, right? From the organizational point of view, how is the mindset in building an integrated team? And what are the tools that you as a business owner would ideally want to have at your, armory to get these things sorted?
So again, sort of speaking on the sort of data that we get out of Amazon, since we're on the subject, it's kind of like a heaven for data. Being a leaner organization, you have limited resources available to you. Historically been a pure offline player, and research or market research has always been limited. So a lot of the feedback that you would get would be from sales guys or the sales teams or the retailers, and all of that would come with some amount of bias and may not 100% be accurate, but of course you took that feedback. Now, when you get into a digital environment like Amazon, where you have access to real-time data, that changes dramatically. And over the years, we've looked at various tools that are offered by the platform and what best ways we can do to use those tools. Even though we are lean, we are extremely data-driven as an organization. So we absorb data, we know how to use it, and we do that quite effectively. Apply that learning so that we can pivot or be nimble and kind of do things quickly as they happen and stay one step ahead of the curve, if you can say so. So just to share some experiential learning, one of the most amazing things is your ability to focus on a kind of a product. We can see certain outliers in some of the categories that go on to become, say, bestsellers. And then we would sort of put them into a separate marketing effort and try and use additional effort or separate effort to promote other products within that same category to make that base broader. And this is something we've done effectively because of the data available to us. And, so in addition to the product, what kind of audience is buying your product? Like, we have this very strange piece of data. We've still not figured out how to use it. But apparently more people buy Chromozome who use PlayStations than who use Xboxes. So we got that data, but we still haven't figured out how to use that. But just to share with you, you can go quite granular in terms of who's buying, where are they buying from. If you're looking at the reviews, you're getting information from consumers on what they like about you. We're looking at that on a daily basis. What is it that excites them about the brand? What should we be talking about? Where should we focus our limited resources so that we are trying to maximize the impact of every rupee spent? And this data makes it a lot more realistic and a lot more easier to execute what you're thinking. So make no mistake about it, we are a hardcore sales-driven organization. And we do a lot of things with our gut. But what's happening is that with the availability of the kind of information that we have, the sort of convergence of gut and reality is getting a lot better. And end of the day, it's an ecosystem. We are very good with our client servicing, very good with our sales. And the moment we add this marketing piece and make the same people use those tools, then that convergence to a singularity is something that is very likely to happen. It's already happening very quickly. And we see that point of singularity. It's on the horizon. It's not too far away.
Great. Traditional marketing backed by data is what we are talking about today. I would like to really want to come to Professor Kumar here. Professor, you are building the tomorrow's marketeers, so as to say, right? So how are you preparing the the budding marketeers to become performance-driven marketeers, where marketing led to performance, which is related to sales?
Okay. Interesting question, because whenever we think about future, and future is always uncertain. Nobody can guarantee that this is the way things are going to shape. Earlier I said that when there is a pressure for coordination, right now marketing and sales, they are under pressure to bring better coordination, like in the football field, not in cricket, where the rules are still clear between bowler and batsman. So number one, we need organizational structural change. And I think my colleague here sitting, and he said that decentralization is one of the point. And when we talk about decentralization, then there is an organizational archetype that comes in our mind, and this structure is called adhocracy. And there are 5 organizational species, and one is called simple structure, and going to the last, what called adhocracy, and in between machine bureaucracy, professional bureaucracy, and then divisionalized form. In this context, when the lines are blurred, adhocracy is a good structure. And the second, how the adhocracy works, there is a concept called distribution of leadership. And here the roles are distributed, leadership are distributed based on their expertise. Although the lines are blurred, But we are not saying that people should not acquire knowledge in the field of sales or CRM, product promotion, or in the field of branding, or maybe in advertising or marketing. Yes, they should acquire knowledge. They should become generalists first, but later on they must specialize, and then they should support each other through the idea of distributed leadership, like all-rounder. When it comes future, I will say that companies like FMCG should now move away from a product-driven company to more like, educating customer, trained customer, an informed customer and educated customer. So I will prefer that an organization like FMCG type of organization can create a role like product doctors who are well informed about the product and can help the consumer to buy product which is most suitable to them based on their need. So product doctors can be a good concept here. And in future, such company can create either a parallel organization or can create another department, what we can call, let's say, a consumer consulting department, where I can approach and I can consult, this is my requirement. I can be held. One more thing, these days I see a lot of advertising around कि चीज वापस हो जाएगी, आप इतने दिन इस्तेमाल करिए वापस. अरे भाई वापस क्यों करना है मुझे? मैंने वापस करने के लिए खरीदा था, मुझे वापस नहीं करना है. जीरो रिटर्न पॉलिसी बाय द कंपनी. आप एक बार खरीदोगे, कभी जरूरत ही नहीं पड़ेगी वापस करने की. दिस नेगेटिव माइंडसेट इज नॉट गुड. आप अच्छी चीज खरीदिए, एक बार खरीदिए, दोबारा वापस करने की जरूरत ही नहीं है. सो द गोल शुड बी जीरो रिटर्न पॉलिसी इन द फ्यूचर, फॉर विच यू रिक्वायर consumer consulting companies and product doctors. Thank you.
Great answer, sir. Consumer-centric mindset is what we need for the future. Before we close the panel, I really want to come to Kapil here. Kapil, we know that, Amazon has been working closely with a lot of brands and working towards creating that mindset, creating that, really the blurring lines where, marketeers of today become, the big performance marketers for tomorrow and lead the branding functions. How have you seen brands adopting to this, change in consumer behavior, which has then obviously, led this change in the entire approach of marketing and sales?
Yeah, so what we have seen is there are 4 different archetypes that have emerged at different brands. On one spectrum, we have sales-led, where essentially sales team define the budget, and they also define how do we efficiently deploy that budget. And their primary view towards Amazon advertising over there essentially is that it's a point of sale visibility. On the other spectrum, we have a completely marketing-led initiative where their objective is primarily to drive efficiency through each and every section of the purchase funnel, be it awareness, consideration, or even purchase, or building loyalty. And in between these 2 extreme spectrums, we have seen 2 different archetypes emerging over the period of time. One of them is sales-led but marketing executed, because they don't want to duplicate the competencies that are existing with marketing, but they just want to make sure that sales is able to achieve their objective. And that's probably some of these organizations which are slightly evolved, but they are not yet mature yet. Then there's a 4th type of archetype that we have seen emerging, which is essentially a hybrid structure, wherein both the sales team and marketing team are using Amazon ads kind of a platform to achieve their objective, where sales team essentially tries to go behind point of sale visibility, and marketing team essentially goes towards leveraging on Amazon properties, off Amazon properties, Amazon DSP, and sponsor ads to achieve broader objectives of each and every section of the funnel. So these are the 4 different archetypes we have seen emerging.
Great. Thanks, Kapil. They say that, finishing on time is always a virtue, and, I think we are well ahead of time. So I think I have the liberty to open the floor for, a couple of questions at max. If there are any questions, anybody in the audience, please feel free to ask, and please direct it to the person you want to answer from. All right, I think we did our jobs well. So thank you, gentlemen, for being a part of this session and helping us understand, how the blurring lines are. Yeah, please.
Just want to add something. So when we talk about any company that is dominating the market, what we call them like market leader. So I will say, as a professor, as a consumer also, that is their responsibility to provide a clear picture to the consumer, and they should take a proactive role and what we call in the change paradigm framework, that there is a tremendous need for reorientation towards making consumer more aware, and understand their even hidden needs also, for which we require tremendous organizational change, and where structure is not enough. As I said, advocacy is of course good structure. Structure is just a skeleton, not everything. But most important, the connect with the sales force or marketing force with the consumer. Whom should I address my query? We need that clear-cut answer from these companies. Thank you.
Food for thought for all the marketers here. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you for being a part today. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is another stellar lineup. Taliyon ki goonj, everybody. Please, one photo opportunity. Like I said, when it's ET brand equity, it's going to be all over. There you go. Give me the warmest smile, gentlemen, which comes to you all naturally as well. And taking over from Prasad, Mr. Sen, request you to give the mementos. But before that, we're going to have an unveiling right now. All right? This unveiling is very, very special. Amazon Ads thought paper. So I'd request all the dignitaries to hold the Amazon Ads thought paper in your hand. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the official unveiling of it by our stellar dignitaries on stage. Remember, in a short while from now, ladies and gentlemen, we're also going to be having the awards coming up. So stay tuned for that.